Very privileged to have a rare interview with Michael Herz. For 30 years, he has run Troma. I'm going to go over to his workspace to talk to him. I'm going from my desk all the way over to Michael Herz's desk. He's working. Look at him working there. Michael, we got a couple of questions to ask you. Could you take the mic, please? And thank you for doing this for the 21st anniversary Toxic Avenger DVD. Michael Herz, hold on a second. Michael Herz, how did you get involved with Lloyd Kaufman?
Well, it was in college, in my youth. I actually met Lloyd's brother Charles at summer camp, just prior to my enrollment at Yale University. Lloyd was a senior, he's much older than I am, and he had a television set in his room. So naturally, all the young boys would gather in his room to watch television. I certainly was no exception. And I watched some of that black and white TV, but most of the time Lloyd taught me other things that I'd never realized could be so beautiful. Lloyd did a beautiful experimental film called The Girl Who Returned, I guess in 1972. And I was chosen to play a very important part in the film, as was my girlfriend at the time, my current wife, Maris. The only reason I wanted to do it was I figured I could get my girlfriend really hot, be in the movie business, and then, have some fun later on. But it didn't work out that way. I ended up having to marry her, and look at me now. Well, I mean, I love her. She's wonderful. She helped us found Troma, as a matter of fact. My wife said I had to do something, so she forced me into the movie business. I actually saw Lloyd in a movie called Cry Uncle, where he had a very, very important part. And then I found out he was actually one of the producers of the show. And I called him up. I figured I could make a quick buck. And met up with Lloyd, and he induced me to invest in a horrible movie where I lost everything. And then I felt obligated to stick with it until I could recoup my $9,000, which I have not to this day, by the way.
What was that movie?
That movie was called Big Gus, What's the Fuss? Actually, in Hebrew, it's called Habalash Ha'amitz Schwartz, starring Bumpet Sewer. And it was a beautiful movie, but it was a huge flop. So in my early years, naive as I was, I tried my hand at direction. But I soon found out that I was not suited for such a task. Well, on the films that we sort of co-directed, Lloyd was the creative genius. He's the one who would talk to the actors. I was more of a technical man. I would make sure that the hot lunches got there on time.
I recollect that you did more of the directing of the actors on the movies that we co-directed, like Toxic Avenger. I thought you were, and especially with the females. I remember that I was very timid. I was pretty good with the hairless boys, but I remember that you were more with the actors.
Well, I beg to differ, Lloyd, because you were on the camera most of the time, and when you weren't on the camera, you were certainly talking to the camera, and I hadn't the foggiest clue as to where the actors were because I wasn't able to look at the camera. So I think I had more to do with the what you call craft services and contract work. Occasionally I would direct, yes, but very soon I realized I had no gift for creating relationships with the actors. The first Turn On is the one and only film that I directed all by myself. It was supposed to be a memoir of my beautiful time at summer camp where I met my lovely bride, Maris. Unfortunately, the film did not get the universal recognition that it deserves, and I have a deep regret about that. And after the critics panned it and the consumers shunned it, so that it became a huge bomb, I never directed again, nor will I. Madonna came here numerous times to get the part of the lead, the Jewish American princess. And in fact, she costumed herself in an array of beautiful costumes to indicate her ability to show a variety of personalities.
Who was this?
Madonna.
The Madonna?
You know, I'm falling now for your love. I'm gonna love for your love. Madonna, that's right. 6 months before that hit, which I sang so beautifully, became a huge hit, she was here begging for the part. I insisted she was not right for the part. Instead, I chose a Jewish American princess from Long Island. 6 months down the road, after Madonna became a huge star, and I realized that I probably threw away tens of millions of dollars, I wasn't that happy. The Toxic Avenger, I remember so many things. I remember that it had something to do with nuclear waste or toxic waste or something like that. And it had some nudity in it and some violence. My personal thinking was we had to come up with a concept that was extremely, extremely commercial. And instead of going with our own feelings and just creating, we had to look at the news and see something that everybody was interested in, and then make sure that we left no commercial element out of the picture. So what we did was we found a headline that said, horror films are out, no more horror films. So naturally we decided to make a horror film. And then we read about toxic and nuclear waste and how bad it was. So we decided to show a film where the toxic and nuclear waste was actually good for a person. And then we decided that the heroine of the film should have a very, very bad disability. So we made her sightless. And we made a beautiful, beautiful scene between two women. Or was that another movie? When we submitted it to the Motion Picture Association for a rating, they began to immediately eviscerate the entire film, cutting out, I would say, 70% of the content of the film. This was planned way in advance. So in order to...
Well, did you plan this? Was this planned? Who planned it?
Yes, I don't want to take all the credit, but the board of directors planned to make a movie that was basically unrateable, even though we wanted a rating, because if you didn't have a rating, you couldn't be in a theater. So we decided to make a movie that the MPA would totally eviscerate and not let us distribute. As much as I would like to take credit for the famous Troma head-crushing technique, I really can't. I would have to say that Lloyd Kaufman, the creative genius behind Troma, decided to crush a watermelon or some of a melon with some blood and guts on it that he got from somewhere, and just to put the icing on the cake, make sure that the head belonged to a little 6-year-old boy.
No, not true. I must interject because Michael is speaking many untruths. He definitely did a lot of the directing. He definitely handled the actors, and on top of that, wrote a lot of this stuff. But what were we talking about? Oh, the head credit. Yes, we were going to shoot. We were going to do a head cast. We were going to have a head cast and all that stuff. And Michael said, "Hey, just get a melon, put a wig on it," and all that. That was your idea, definitely. You are the responsible, even though I have been credited and had the glory of coming up with such a technique.
I predicted that the Toxic Avenger, once it was completed and we actually saw it, would be the biggest flop since Big Gus, What's the Fuss? However, to my shock and surprise and awe, it became one of the biggest genre hits of all time. And it spawned numerous copycats, like Swamp Thing, for instance. It's a pale imitation. And also we've done 3 sequels to it, as well as an internationally distributed cartoon show for little kiddies. The visions that Lloyd and I had for the sequels diverged quite a bit. Lloyd wanted to make the films, and I said, nah, let's just pocket the money. Lloyd said to do it. I acquiesced as usual, and I'm very happy we did because, as everyone knows, those Toxic Avenger movies are our Mickey Mice, I may say, of Troma Studios. In the sequels to the Toxic Avenger, I had a very important, although behind-the-scenes role. For instance, if you see the scenes with the hovercraft running around in the Toxic Avenger Part III, I was driving the hovercraft. In fact, I had to fly down to Florida and learn how to drive that hovercraft. In addition, I was the bus driver with the Toxic Avenger mask on Toxic Avenger Part II, or was that Part III? In any event, I drove the bus, and it was very funny because the mask sort of covered my eyes, and we had this big picnic scene with a lot of kids running around, and I almost hit 3 or 4 of the kids. Well, it is true that the turnover of our Troma team employees is quite vast. In fact, I think the average stay for most employees here is about 3.5 weeks. And this is good. It's a good thing because the people come to us. We tell them it's an impossible job and that they'll be miserable, and they decide to stay anyway. And then, true to our word, we make it very miserable and the job is impossible. But they learn a lot of lessons along the way. For instance, they learn that the toilets must be cleaned every morning. And not only the top of the toilet seat, but the bottom as well, because when somebody takes a dump, there's like splashback, and the stuff gets underneath the toilet seat, and you got to do that as well. Some people have said that the Troma employees are afraid of me or despise me, hate me, don't like me. I really don't pay attention to that because I feel that I give them very, very important input.
But you're a very nice person. Is this a business tactic to frighten the employees?
I don't believe that I really do frighten the employees. I think that the employees are frightened of themselves. Because when they look at me, I try to lead by an example. And when they look at me and see how I work, there's a little fear that creeps up in the bowels of their inner self and being. Doggy Tales was a concept, a high concept, that went awry. I worked out and mapped out every detail, every nook and cranny, every T and I dotted on Doggy Tales. And then it fell into the hands of Lloyd Kaufman, who immediately started to pull at it and tear at it and pick at it, the way he does with all of the films he directs. And sure enough, it came out to be disastrous. But it was a great concept. It's a beautiful film, a little short film for all young boys and girls, especially boys. And you can get it on the Troma website, troma.com. Tales from the Crapper was what we call a reclamation project. A brilliant project. Certain footage was shot under adverse conditions and circumstances. And Lloyd Kaufman, the genius that he is, brought it together in one seamless, effortless tome to horror, suspense, sex, and violent motion pictures called Tales from the Crapper. I'm very heartened by the number of fans that I meet when I go on the road, especially in Las Vegas, who are Troma fans. And I try not to toot my own horn, so to speak. But on the rare occasion when I might be at the Hold'em table at the Bellagio and someone says to me, "Hey, what do you do?" I said, "Well, we're involved with some films." And they say, "Oh yeah, what kind of films?" And I say, "The Toxic Avenger." They say, "Ah, the Toxic Avenger? That's my favorite movie. Here, listen to this. Boys, get them." Oh no, that was from Big Gus What the Fuss. "Hey, I never cornholed me a blind bitch before." That's from the Toxic Avenger. That's what they tell me. They actually remember that line. Someone once asked me, do I feel that there's any hope for Troma in the future? And I often say to people, where there's life, there's hope. And there's plenty of life at Troma. If you go down to the basement, there are all kinds of rats and vermin down there. And if you want to see some life, that's where you find it. So therefore, yes, there is hope for Troma. If there is a legacy of Troma Entertainment, which has been around for 30 years, and I believe is the longest running show in the independent film community, it is this. If you're a young boy or girl and you want to make an independent film, there's only one place for you to look, and that's right here at Troma. And if you have any questions or comments, or if you'd like to buy some DVDs wholesale, I commend you to go to troma.com and join in our Troma family. And the legacy will be a lot of young boys and girls, especially boys, trying to make some films, probably not succeeding, but trying their best anyway, and volunteering for a lot of shit that Lloyd puts on all over the country and all over the world. Look, I only have time for one more question. I really have to go. Thanks very much.
Well, by the way, this is very, very important. Michael, everybody today wants to make a movie. Everybody. What's your advice for young people today who want to make a movie?
Well, my advice for people who want to make a movie today is you should act like a movie maker. When somebody calls you about something, don't return their calls. When you go to a restaurant and you're having lunch, just when the check arrives, go to the bathroom and stay there a good long time and let the guy who you invited to lunch pay for the check. Go into a party, when you want to raise money, and be a big fat slob. Maybe light up a cigar and try not to look people in the face. And whatever you do, don't ask someone, "Oh, what do you do? What do you do?" Always talk about yourself. This is a good advice for a young filmmaker today. And if you really want to make a movie, I suggest you go out and you make your own damn movie. Collectible 5-disc DVD set based on Lloyd Kaufman's book of the same name. You'll find everything there that you want to know about making a movie, from financing, production, post-production, pre-production, servicing, marketing, directing. Anything you want to know is in that beautiful set. And so, after 30 years in the business with my wonderful partner Lloyd Kaufman, that's the best advice I could give to any young filmmaker.
What are you doing in my chair?
Pardon me, Mr. Herz. I'm sorry. I was just trying to straighten up.
Well, get out of here.
Yes, right away, Mr. Herz.
And I'm thirsty. So get me 2 Diet Cokes and a milkshake.
Yes, right away, sir.
I'm sorry, Michael. It was just an accident. It was I don't know how this happened.
Every time I go get myself a little snack, that pipsqueak is sitting in my chair.
So what do you want?
You know what I want. Give me that microphone and get yourself down here.
Okay. Better turn the cameras off. Turn the cameras. Michael's angry. Turn the cameras off.
Come on.
Okay. All right, Mike.
No talking. Just get to work.
All right, I'm doing my best.
What a sandwich.
Head to TalkinTroma.com for more trauma history. Also available wherever you listen.